What if you couldn't fail? What if you couldn't fail? What if that seed of thought was implanted into your mind and actually took root and actually grew? What would your life look like? How would your life progress? Would it be different? Of course it would. But the question is how different it would be. It would probably be so different that you wouldn't even recognize yourself. Now let me tell you, unfortunately, you do fail. But failing is not a bad thing. Failing is part of the process. The question is, do you have to be failing all the time? And the answer to that is no. And if you do fail, you shouldn't be ashamed of it, or you shouldn't stay there. You should learn from it. You should pick yourself up again and keep walking. But having the ideology, the mentality of not failing, even though everything and everyone around you indicates and gives you labels saying X, Y, Z, that's why this person, you, is a failure. I think a beautiful story, beautiful picture of this, of what would life play out if I didn't fail in the perfect scenario. But what would life play out even though I failed, I learned, I picked myself up again, and I kept moving forward, learning from my mistakes, not failing at the same thing. And if I do keep learning and keep going, a beautiful story. Story of redemption, a story of a heroic figure, an individual, an outcast by society, called by many names, labeled many things. The underdog, unworthy, a failure. And a beautiful story of this embodiment, this archetype, play out from a kid to adult is the story of Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. For the people that don't know, it's an anime. Fantastic anime if you ask me. Probably one of my favorites. But it's this kid, right? He's outcast from the village based on many factors. He doesn't have parents. He's quote unquote the protagonist of the story. But in the beginning, it's all about being labeled something, being outcast by others. His dream, his aspiration, to become Hokage, right? To become the ruler. Kage, shadow. Hokage, basically the shadow of the hidden leaves. But it's to protect those, to lead those that were the ones putting shame, that were the ones outcasting, that were the ones putting labels. Beautiful story play out, right? But what if I basically get inspiration, ideologies, views, a lot of it from anime shows. I think animes have a lot of bad things in them, but also have some really cool aspects. And one of these aspects is that embodiment of the hero figure, the hero story, the story of someone who went from, right, being a failure to making something out of himself. And that's why I named my brand Anime Shreds with the slogan, embody your hero, right? So we can pick up ideas, we can pick up philosophies that we want to embody from different individuals. Sometimes you can get them from anime shows. You'd be like, hey, that's tacky. And I would be like, maybe in some sense. But the idea here is kind of bypassing the proxy itself of the image that's being thrown at us, the visual, the story, the archetype. If you can get past it and it's not physical individuals being filmed on camera, actors, and you get a story, perhaps it's drawn, you can still pick up on the ideas, the symbologies, the ethos, and the narrative itself. My friend, we'll get back to the video in a second, but before we do, I wanted to let you know that the Hero Stack is now available. These are my custom formulated supplements, from muscle growth to testosterone boosting capabilities, focus, energy, and even fat burning. And since you're watching this video, I would like to give you a special discount. You can use the code YouTube to save even more. So I'll go ahead and leave the link in the description below for you to secure yours today. Now, back to the video. So in anime, you're gonna have a lot of these archetypes of the underdog going on his journey to becoming a hero. And I think it's fascinating. I think it's super cool. And you can see it in other stuff as well that transcends anime. You can look at figures of the past that have done legendary feats at a young age, and be able to gain and garner those ideologies, those virtues, and really capture it, dwell in it, think about it, let it be of inspiration, but also let it be a tool for you. And the reason I bring this up is, growing up in Argentina, I'm not saying everybody, they're all losers, but there's a lot of losers, right? Especially third world country. Less education sometimes can lead to dumber people. But you have the other side of the spectrum, which is the ego in terms of high levels of Q intelligence, and then, pursuing Gnosticism at its fullest potential. That being said, I did start watching anime shows at a young age and was picking up on those heroic archetypes, right? So I think it's something that you can really grab and in a way translate into your own life. Be like, why does this resonate with me? Is there truth here? Is there something that is being conveyed, a data set, that I'm not picking up with those around me, right? The environment, the people you're hanging out with. Because everybody's life is different. Some people have siblings, other people are the only child, no parents, parents are divorced, loving family. There's always a problem, right? But if all you have, all the environment, everything around you doesn't inspire you, doesn't bring awareness, consciousness to even the seed of thought, the seed of possibility of what it's like to live a virtuous life, of what it's like to embark this journey, right? I think you should start picking up inspiration from other avenues and vehicles. I'm not saying you have to do it with anime, by no means. Anime has its epicness and its lameness as well. But just start kind of becoming more aware of it, because sometimes truth resonates, and we know it resonates, we just don't know why, because we don't take the time to pause, to reflect, and to analyze that. And I can tell you at a young age, it might seem ironic, tacky, but seeing figures like Rock Lee training, the relationship with Guy Sensei, Rock Lee, I think it's fantastic. I think it's epic. I think it's what true masculinity should be in terms of helping those below you that have the potential, that want to listen, and kind of go imparting the wisdom, expanding on it and keep going on. But seeing those kind of figures, bro, definitely motivated me. Would I have known that I would have had anime level shreds a few decades later? Probably not. Probably not. But those stories, those archetypes, they're constructed for a reason, right? I think they serve as beacons of light for things that we have lost in terms of a society, things that we have lost in terms of our humanity. Those are just some thoughts, right? What if you did adopt that mentality if you couldn't fail? Because Naruto, you saw that, bro. It's constantly, I'm not going to fail, I'm not going to fail. And he failed all the time. Every single time. Super clumsy, super dorky. But the story keeps going. The grind keeps going. The failures keep happening. But does he reach his goal? In the end, he does. And the person who he becomes in the process is completely different than the person who started the process. So the question is, to an extent, have that same mentality, have that same ideology. I'm not going to fail, right? Go full throttle. In Spanish, we say con todo el power. But the irony is he did fail, and he failed a lot. And he learned from some of the failures, he didn't learn from some of the failures. But that same archetype happens with many other underdogs and many other stories, both drawn and played out in real life, in the real meta. But yeah, guys, the question is not what would happen if I didn't fail. The question is, what will happen if I don't take action? What will happen if I stay here where I'm at now? Because even though if you fail, in the process of failing, as the story goes developing, if you're true to yourself, if you live a virtuous life, I'm not saying you're gonna have a perfect life or money's gonna fall from the sky, but there's a satisfaction to it. There's a beauty, an alchemical beauty to the person you become in the process. Now, looking back, sometimes it's a good idea to learn from your mistakes, to ponder on how far you've come, Let it be an inspiration to other people. Let it be an empowerment to yourself. And realize that we're still in the arena. We're still fighting. There's a lot more failures to come. So we can't quit. We must keep going. The ascension to the top of the mountain is still there. Gotta fight the good fight. Peace and grace.